One of our most frequent reasons for wanting to write equivalent fractions is that because we want to work with fractions that have the same denominator. That is, we want to work with like fractions. How can we come up with fractions that have a common or shared denominator? Suppose we start with the following three fractions: 2/3, 5/4, and 7/8. And we want to write them with a common denominator. Remember the methods that we have available for writing equivalent fractions. To write an equivalent to a given fraction, we can either multiply the numerator and denominator by the same number, or divide the numerator and denominator by the same number. And we have to choose that number so that the result is an integer. Since our given fractions here are in lowest terms, which will often be the case when we're setting out to write a common denominator, our only option is to multiply the numerator and denominator by the same thing. And our overall goal is that all three of our eventual denominators should be the same. So we are looking for a number that we can get by multiplying 3 times something, by multiplying 4 times something else, and by multiplying 8 times something else again. There are 3 ways that we could go about finding such a number. The first way, which I'm going to call the quick and messy way, is to simply multiply all 3 denominators together. So we could take 3 times 4 times 8 is 12 times 8 is 96. So we can use 96 for our common denominator. Let's see. 96 is 8 times 12. If we're going to multiply 8 times 12, we need to multiply 7 times 12. So we get 84. 96 is 4 times, we can do this division on a calculator if we'd like. 96 divided by 4 is 24. So 4 times 24 is 96. If we're multiplying the denominator by 24, we must also multiply the numerator by 24. So we get 120 for our numerator here. And finally, 96 is 3 times 32. That's again dividing 96 by 3. So our denominator is 3 times 32. Our numerator will be 2 times 32, which is 64. And we've accomplished our goal. We've written equivalents to the 3 given fractions that have the same denominator. The advantage to this method is that it's quick and easy. The disadvantage is that the integers that appear in the numerator and denominator in our answer are going to be very big. And they're going to be bigger than they have to be. The other 2 methods that we can use will give us a different common denominator in most cases. Both of the other 2 methods involve finding the least common multiple, that is, the smallest possible number that will work for us here. The easier way to find the least common multiple is just by making a list of the multiples. So the numbers we're starting with are 3, 4, and 8. multiples of 3, right? 3 is just 3 times 1, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9. Notice what we're doing here is just counting by 3's. So 9 and another 3 is 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. I went up to 3 times 10. If we haven't found a common multiple by that point, we should probably consider a different method. So 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40. And now with this last number, I'm just going to check and see if I've found a common multiple. That is, if I've found a number that appears on both lists. This looks promising. 8 appears on both the 8 list and the 4 list, but it isn't on the 3 list. So 16, that appears on the 4 list, but not on the 3 list. 24, that appears on the 4 list and also on the 3 list. 24 is the first number that appears on all 3 lists. That's going to be my least common denominator. In other words, this number could have been 24. 24 is 3 times 8. If we multiply the denominator by 8, we should also multiply the numerator by 8. So we end up with 16 24ths. 24 is 4 times 6. If we multiply the denominator by 6, we must also multiply the numerator by 6. We end up with 30 24ths. 24 is 8 times 3. If we multiply the denominator by 3, we must also multiply the numerator by 3. We end up with 21 24ths. Notice that again, we have equivalent fractions with the same denominator, but the numbers appearing in the numerator and denominator are much smaller. Alright, so we have one method of finding the least common multiple, simply by listing the multiples. The advantage of this method, it's very easy to see what's happening. The disadvantage is that sometimes we need very long lists. The third method of finding a common denominator gives us another way to find the least common multiple, and this method uses prime factors. We'll see this method in another video.